Hello Creative Gems, welcome back to Creativity, and today I've got a special treat for you, especially if you're a cardboard crafter and love to make DIY Christmas decor for your home. I've got a couple of empty cardboard boxes here, and wait till you see how I completely transform these into a life-size Nutcracker, the ultimate DIY to level up your Christmas home decor. I'll talk you through all the steps in case you want to make one for your home. And you can listen to some Christmas tunes that I'll be playing in the background as well. So let's begin. I want to make sure the boxes are really stable, so I'm going to cut up pieces of this wooden plank I found at the Dollar Tree. This is real wood and typically used for painting signs, but today we'll just measure the size of the wood we need and cut a few pieces out of it. So I've measured the bottom of the box, and you can see I used a pencil to mark up the plank. Now I'll use my ruler as a guide and my box cutter to score the wooden plank. If you guys have a saw, that might be easier, but I don't have one handy in my craft studio, so my box cutter will have to do. Once you have scored the wood several times, test to see if you can break off the wood piece by gently bending the two ends of the wooden plank. If it doesn't snap off right away, continue to score it a few more times. If you don't get a clean cut, go back in and trim off any jagged edges that might be sticking out. Let's go ahead and insert this first piece into the bottom of one of the cardboard boxes. Looks like it fits perfectly. Now we're going to turn this cardboard box over, and we're going to place another piece of wood that I cut out for the other end. I'll use some wood glue, and then we'll set it for about 20 to 30 minutes. Now we'll turn this box over yet again, and we will seal up the opening of the other end. Once again, I'll use wood glue to adhere all the flaps shut. And by the way, if you don't have wood glue, you could use white glue, but it may take a bit longer to fully cure. You could also use hot glue, but be careful not to apply too much because you don't want the hot glue to dry in hard clumps, because ultimately you want everything to lay flat as much as possible. Once the flaps are secured together, I'm going to go back in with my hot glue gun and seal the edges together with a tiny bit of hot glue. With that done, I'm going to stick this final piece of wood onto the top, again with some wood glue, and then I'll let everything set for 20 to 30 minutes. In the meantime, I've got 4 of these long and thick wooden signs. They're probably made of particle board, but they're thick, they're compact, and they have quite a bit of weight to them. Each of these have a saying, and they come in different colors and designs, but we're actually not going to really care about that because we're going to cover them up later, so it won't really matter what they have on them. What I'm going to do is glue 2 together, and once again, I'll be using wood glue. Any guesses what these are going to be used for? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Okay, so I let the wood glue fully cure, and now I'm going to place them onto one of the cardboard boxes like so. I want to make sure they're slightly apart, and I also want to make sure they're positioned halfway down the length of the wood plank. So I'm going to use a ruler to make sure the sides are even, and then I'm going to use a pencil to mark up the positioning of each piece. Did anyone guess what these are for? If you guessed legs for the Nutcracker, then you're absolutely correct. To make sure they stay in place, I'm first going to add some wood glue and let the wood glue to fully cure. And while I do that, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting the subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well, so YouTube will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. Okay, so the wood glue has fully cured, and now I'm going to go back in with some metal L brackets. Adding the metal L brackets will ensure that the legs will always stay intact. Now, normally I would consider adding 4 metal L brackets, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, but as it turns out I'm very short on them and only have 2 left, so we're going to have to make do with just the 2. I don't think it will be a problem because the metal L brackets I'm using are pretty heavy duty. And plus the body of this nutcracker will not be too heavy, being made of just cardboard. So I'll go ahead and finish screwing in the metal brackets. With the legs screwed in, I want to use this square wood plank to make a small platform for my nutcracker to stand on. This wood piece is pretty thick and it will help keep the nutcracker very sturdy and stable so it won't wobble around. I've got the legs standing on the platform and now I'm marking off where they are going to be bolted down to. It doesn't really matter if you position the legs closer to the center or a bit off center like I have here. It's really up to you and your own preference. Once I know where the legs are going to be, I'll use some wood glue to adhere the legs to the wooden platform. And once again, I'm going to wait about 20 to 30 minutes for the wood glue to cure, and then I'm going to come back in with a couple of screws to really make sure everything stays in place. Here I've got 1 screw for each leg, but if you wanted to, you could add another couple of extra screws, but mine are feeling very solid already with only 1 for each leg. Okay, so I've got my second cardboard box here and I've actually marked it off because I think it's way too big to use both cardboard boxes as the body. The body would be just too long. So I'm just going to use my box cutter to cut off a few inches from one end of the cardboard box, the end where I attached the cut up piece of wood plank from earlier. Once the piece is cut, I'll simply glue it to the top of the first cardboard box just to give the body a tiny bit more height. And for the head, I found this small empty box and I think it's actually going to be the perfect size. I've marked off where I want the head to be and now I'll just use some hot glue to adhere the head to the body. And that's it. We now have a head, a body, and a couple of legs. All we're missing are some arms and some clothes. I've brought my nutcracker back to my crafting table and it's laying down comfortably onto the table. Before we attach the arms to this nutcracker, I want to start dressing up the body first. Here I've got a roll of silver glitter faux leather fabric. This fabric is thicker than regular paper but thin enough that it is very flexible so I can wrap it around the box very easily. But here's where I'm going to do something a little unexpected. For the back of our nutcracker, I want to give it a slightly different look. So before we glue on the silver glitter faux leather jacket onto our nutcracker, I want to measure out the back for some square mirror tiles that I'll eventually add to the back. I want these 4x4 mirror tiles to go down the length of the back and I want them centered so I have marked off where the center will be on the back of the box. And with that done, now I know how much silver glitter faux leather fabric I'll need to wrap around the rest of the body. To adhere the fabric to the box, I'm going to use hot glue. The faux leather fabric is heavier and thicker than regular paper, so the hot glue will help ensure the fabric sticks immediately. You could use white glue, but you would have to hold down the fabric for quite a while since the weight of this faux leather fabric will likely slide off the cardboard before the white glue gets the chance to fully cure. Now let's turn our nutcracker over to the front. We've got the head here and on the body is the silver glitter jacket. But I want to give our nutcracker a nice fancy belt. So I'm going to take this gold trim and position it a third or so away from the bottom of the jacket and have it go all across the bodice. I'll add a bit of hot glue to it so it will stay in place. And notice how I'm not bringing the belt all the way to the back. That's because the back will be adorned with the square mirror tiles instead. So I'll bring the gold belt across the front and to the sides only. Now I want to give the belt a really nice buckle, so I'll add a few strips of these beautiful glass gems. The facets on these glass gems are so beautiful, especially when the light hits them, and that's because they're literally made of real glass. By the way, if you're looking to stock up on any of the embellishments I'm using today, you can find links to everything down below in the description box. You can use either my Temu link to search for them, or you can use my Amazon links. Up to you, because these embellishments are actually available on both sites. And what I like about these glass gems is that they're self-adhesive, so no need to mess with any glue. Now, as I look at this jacket with the belt, I'm thinking the gold belt is a little too gold for my liking. So I'm going to go back in with this trim to try and mute the yellowness of the gold belt a little bit. This trim contains lots of silver toned rhinestones and clear glass gems as well, so it will make a beautiful contrast to the gold belt. See, doesn't that already look so much better? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Are you loving the gold belt as it was before, or do you prefer the two-tone belt like I have here? With the belt done, we're going to work on the rest of the jacket. I've got some leftover ornament balls I picked up at the Dollar Tree. These are small silver ones, but just to let you know, they do come in other colors including gold, blue, red, and even rose gold. They also come in larger sizes in case you plan on making a larger nutcracker than mine. Any guesses for what these ornament balls will be used for? If you know, let me know down in the comments section. So I've got a total of 8 ornament balls, and what we need to do is pull the caps off each. Once all the caps are removed, we're going to go back in with a pair of scissors to snip off the tips from each of the ornament balls. We want to snip the tips off and leave the ornament ball as flat as possible so it will be easier to glue them down onto the jacket. And if you guess that these ornament balls will be used as buttons, then you're absolutely correct. What I want to do is have 2 columns of buttons down the center of the jacket but spaced slightly apart. Once you know how you want to space them out, to adhere them onto the jacket, a tiny bit of hot glue is all you'll need. Once all the buttons are secured, I'm going to go back in with more embellishments. I found this hairband at the dollar store, and what I want to do is remove the gold links from the hairband. The gold links are just hot glued down to the metal hairband, so it was pretty easy to remove it with a bit of gentle force. So here I'm just seeing how many links I'll be able to fit between each set of the buttons, and it looks like the space is big enough to fit 3 links. So I'll go ahead and remove 4 sets of 3 from this chain. To adhere them, I'm going to apply a tiny bit of hot glue to the end links only. And while I work on this, comment down below with the word Nutcracker and let me know if you have started to decorate your home for the holidays yet. And if so, I would love to know what festive decor you have in your home. For me, we just put up our Christmas tree, and this year's color theme is red and gold. We also have a matching wreath at the front door and lights framing our front window as well. With the jacket done, it's now time to work on creating arms for our new friend, Mr. Nutcracker. So I've got a pool noodle here from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut two pieces that are 19 inches long. And by the way, your pool noodle can be any color because in the end, we're going to cover them up with jacket sleeves anyways. To cut the pool noodle, I'm using my handy dandy box cutter, but if you prefer, you can also use a bread knife or hand saw. Either should work just as well. Now we're going to cover these pool noodle arms with the same faux leather fabric we used earlier for the jacket. I'll use tiny bits of hot glue, and I'm actually going to try and minimize the amount of glue I apply directly onto the pool noodle to avoid melting the foam right off. So I'll overlap the faux leather fabric as much as I can and apply the hot glue onto the faux leather instead. You'll also notice that the silver glitter faux leather fabric I'm using is not big enough to cover the entire arm. So to compensate, I'm actually cutting out smaller pieces of gold glitter faux leather fabric, which I think will add a very nice color contrast to the silver glitter. Now I'm going to go back in with this self-adhesive rhinestone trim to hide the seams between the silver and gold glitter fabric. This trim also contains real glass gems as well, so it really sparkles when the light hits it. Once I have one arm done, I'm going to dress the second arm exactly the same way. To adhere the arms to the sides of the body, you first want to line up the top of the arm to the top of the jacket. You can also position the arm close to the front, or you can position it further back. It's really up to you on what you prefer. Then, to make sure the arm stays in place, add some hot glue along the insides of the arm and hold it in place for a few seconds to let the hot glue completely cool and set. You can tuck in a bit more glue wherever necessary to make sure the arm doesn't come loose. Then do the exact same thing with the second arm. What I also wanted to suggest is that if you have a seam on the arm where the faux leather fabric was cut, it may be a good idea to position that into the body to hide the seam. You can barely see the seam, but it's a small detail that I would suggest. Okay, so we've got the arms in, and now these clear ornament balls will become hands for our nutcracker. I've already removed the caps from these ornament balls, so I'll just apply a bit of hot glue around the opening before inserting each into the bottom of each arm. So I just realized I didn't do anything for the shoulders, so what I want to do is take a couple of these tin containers from the Dollar Tree and separate the two pieces from each. These will make excellent shoulders for the nutcracker. Ideally, I would have added these onto the arms first before hot gluing the arms on, but it's not too late. As you can see here, I managed to slip them on at the top of the arms, and if necessary, you can add a bit of hot glue to keep them in place. Next, I want to jazz up these shoulders, so I'm going to go back in with a strip of silver rhinestone trim just to add a little bit more bling. This silver rhinestone trim is the same that we used earlier for the sleeve, so everything will match very nicely. Next, I'm going to cover the exposed wood with this trim, and notice how it matches the rest of the silver glitter jacket. If you don't have any of this trim, you could opt to cut a piece of the silver glitter faux leather fabric that we used for the rest of the jacket, and that would look nice too. For me, I just got a bit lazy as I didn't feel like pulling out the ruler again to measure everything, so using this trim was a lot easier and quicker. Okay, so we have the jacket and the arms and shoulders completed. Now let's take a look at this mop pad. This is actually a microfiber dusting mop pad I picked up at the Dollar Tree a while back. And since it's white and furry, I think it's going to make the perfect head of hair for our nutcracker. Because it's big enough, I cut it in half and I think it will make the perfect length. You may get some loose strays of fur after cutting this mop pad, but don't worry, the rest of it will stay intact. We're ready to glue this onto the nutcracker's head. And by the way, I'm only going to worry about the sides of the head since the top of the head will be covered with a big hat later anyways. Now that the entire body and head is dressed up, let's go back to the legs and make sure this nutcracker is dressed with some pants. The pants are going to match the jacket, so we're going to dress them up with the same silver glitter faux leather fabric. But we're going to leave the back of the legs for now because, like I mentioned earlier, I've got other plans for the back of this nutcracker. And just like we did for the sleeves, I'm going to add a smaller piece of the gold glitter fabric to the bottom of each pant leg as well. And by the way, as this nutcracker comes to life, I'm going to need your help to name him. If you have any good suggestions on what I should call him, leave your suggestions down in the comments. We'll also add the matching silver rhinestone trim to cover the seams between the silver and gold glitter fabric. Remember the wood platform that we secured to the legs earlier? Well, it's time to jazz up that platform. I've got some weld bond glue here and it's going to be the perfect glue to use because I'm going to deck out our wood platform with some small mirror tiles. I find the easiest way to get that done is by applying the glue directly to the wood platform first and then sticking the mirror tiles to it. My only problem is that I tend to go overboard with the glue every time, so if you're going to do this, make sure you start with as little glue as possible to avoid having excess glue oozing out in between the seams of the mirror tiles. I'll have you know that I applied way too much glue again, so after everything dried, I had to go in and clean off the mirror tiles off camera. It took quite a bit of elbow grease, a really good soft towel, and some fingernails to get all the excess glue wiped off, so definitely don't overdo it. It's always easy to add glue, but very difficult to remove glue after it has been applied. So this is what we are now left with. The mirror tiles did not fit into these small spaces here where the wood is exposed, so I'm going to go back in with some silver rhinestone trim to cover that up. I'm also going to go in with the same rhinestone trim to frame all the sides of this platform. It's a small detail, but I think it will give this nutcracker a more finished look from head to toe. Okay, Mr. Nutcracker is now laying comfortably face down back onto my crafting table, so now we can finish up the back of our nutcracker. Remember earlier we left this space in the middle open? That's because we're going to apply mirror tiles to this area. Now you can either position the mirrors so they're centered down the length of the body, or what I'm going to do is place the mirror tiles so the last one is flush against the very end of the body. I'll use weld bond to adhere the mirror tiles to the body. And once again, again, a little reminder that you don't want to be too heavy-handed with the glue. I went overboard again, so off camera I had to spend more time cleaning those mirrors because of the excess glue that was oozing out in between the mirror tiles. Now we're going to cinch the waist in a bit, or give it the illusion that there's a cinched waist. I'm just trimming off the extra length of the gold belt we applied earlier to clean things up here. And then I'm going to go in with a strip of silver glitter trim to give the illusion of a cinched waist. It's really more for aesthetics since the waist isn't actually cinched in. Now I'll go back in and take care of those seams between the mirror tiles by applying a strip of silver rhinestone and glass trim to hide those little gaps between each mirror. The trim is beautiful and I think it will really enhance the look of the mirrors. I'll also frame the sides of the mirrors as well. And as a final touch, I'm going to cover any remaining exposed cardboard with some of these beautiful self-adhesive glass gems, the same ones that we used to create the belt buckle on the front. Okay, so we're almost done, but you may have noticed our Nutcracker has all the body parts, the hair, and the nice suit, but he doesn't have a face yet. Well, I went ahead and hand sketched a face for him. Now, I have to warn you, I'm not much of an artist when it comes to drawing, so please go easy on me. This is the best I could do. I chose to draw his face on a piece of tan colored construction paper. I'm also using a 5H pencil, so I get a very light fine drawing, which I'll go back in shortly with a black Sharpie once I'm happy with the face. If you guys don't want to draw the face yourself, you could always find a template on the internet and print that off. I think it might be easier, especially if you're not an artist. Now I'm going to go back in with a black Sharpie. This one has a fine tip, so we're going to get a thin outline of each facial feature. For the eyeballs, I'll color them in black. For the eyebrows and mustache, they're pretty thick, so I'll go in with a metallic silver paint marker to color those in. Once the face is drawn in and colored to your liking, it's time to put the face onto the front of the head. I've got some Mod Podge here because I think it's lighter than using any other type of glue, and it will definitely dry clear so you won't be able to see it underneath the face drawing. I'm only applying a very light single coat of the Mod Podge, so there's no excess because I want the face drawing to go on completely flat and smooth. So while that dries, let's make a hat for our Nutcracker, and that will be the final step. I have two pieces of foam that came with a small ceiling fan I recently got, and I think if we glue the two pieces together, that will make a nice hat. To glue them together, I've chosen to use Weld Bond instead of hot glue because I think the hot glue would simply melt and deteriorate the foam pieces. Now, if you don't happen to have any leftover foam pieces that is the right size and shape, I would suggest looking for another empty cardboard box of similar shape and size. Just make sure you choose something that is not too heavy. Once the glue has dried, we can dress up the hat. I've chosen to wrap some silver glitter foam padding around the hat. This foam padding is a bit thicker than the faux leather version I used on the jacket, but the only reason I'm using this is because I literally ran out of the silver glitter faux leather fabric. Luckily, this foam padding is pretty much an exact match to the silver glitter faux leather fabric we used for the Nutcracker's suit jacket. So I'll go ahead and glue on the rest of the pieces, including a piece for the top, and then I'll come back to show you what we've got. This hat has a lot of seams because I had to cut 3 pieces of the silver glitter foam and glue them all together to make one hat. So to cover up the seams, I'm going to go back in with the silver glitter fabric trim. Okay, so this is what the hat looks like now. As a final piece of embellishment, I'm going to add a piece of gold ornament to the top of the hat. I have a silicone mold with a beautiful ornate design, and I'm going to inject it with hot glue. Once the hot glue has completely cooled, you can easily remove the hot glue piece, and then I'm going to go back in with a metallic gold paint marker and paint the entire piece. Once the paint has fully dried, the paint is permanent, and this is what the ornament looks like. It's got such a pretty design, and since it's made of hot glue, it's also extremely lightweight, so it will be very easy to adorn this onto the hat we just made. All we need to do is flip the piece over and apply some hot glue to the back. I'm only going to apply hot glue to the bottom half of the piece because that's where the piece will be attached directly onto the hat. And here's the final look for our nutcracker starting from the base. We've got the mirrored platform that is keeping this life-size nutcracker nice and sturdy. The silver 18-inch long pant legs are hemmed with golden cuffs and a beautiful silver rhinestone trim. The matching 19-inch arms are similarly decked out with hands that stealthily hang by the sides. The rest of the silver jacket is ornated with a beautiful gold and silver belt. The buckle is encrusted with equally beautiful glass gems that sparkle brightly when the sunlight hits it. Moving up the bodice, we have a silver button jacket and gold-linked enclosures to keep our nutcracker nice and warm. And as you go past the shoulders to his face, isn't that big smile just worth $1,000,000? Our white-haired and silver mustached nutcracker, standing just under 5 feet tall, is ready to greet you and wish you happy holidays. Comment down below and let me know what I should name this nutcracker. Your suggestions are welcome and greatly appreciated. But before you send me your name suggestions, check this out. I flipped our nutcracker around and take a look at that. Now he has another look. This DIY nutcracker is like a 2-for-1, so depending on your mood or your home decor, you could choose which side you want your nutcracker to face. If you enjoyed today's craft tutorial, let me know down in the comments, and if you feel inspired, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel. Happy holidays, everyone!